Hello and welcome to the coronavirus update for the 14th of April 2020, where we've got for the last day less than 2 million cases in the world. About 125,000 people have died. And yeah, I'd like to start off. I got some rather interesting emails about my last video, about things that I didn't understand about the spread of the coronavirus. And one of them was New York, London, and Wuhan are all cities of about 10 million people. Yet New York got absolutely hammered by the coronavirus, London not so much, Wuhan not so much. And someone rightfully pointed out that New York City has a much higher population density than the other two. So that's one very valid point that's one made. Another one was, why did Germany have such low numbers? And they do. They're fantastic. I mean, you take a look at America here. Let's take a look at America. What are we at? They're not 2 million cases. Update for me. It's about 500,000 cases in America. Oh, there we go. 500,000 cases in America. 4%-ish. 4% of the people who got the virus in America died. You take a look at the same numbers for Germany, and it's about 2%. It's about half. And you take a look at it for places like the UK, and it's over 10%. It's 13, 14%. So why is Germany so anomalously low in Europe? And someone wrote to me, and they made a couple of really useful points. And they said that one of the key things is that many of the cases in Germany, so they say, I've not looked into it, but it sounds immediately credible, is they were young people who went from Germany and did skiing holidays in Italy, and then they came back and they spread the virus to all young people, and young people don't tend to die as much from the coronavirus. And that's one of the reasons why this number is so low. And also, Germany did a lot more testing, and they get a lot more intensive care units per capita. They've got one of the best intensive units per capita ratio in the world. And this for me is a sort of, that one's more of a tweaking type issue. In that there's really not a lot you can do for a serious viral infection. There are no antivirals that you can really give people. The best that you can do is some people who are almost dead, but they're just about getting better as well. You can maybe give those people a respirator for a bit, and maybe they'll get better. So there's some grey area people there. But if the virus is just completely on top of your body, there's nothing that you can do for these people. So, but the other reason it's immediately credible for me is I currently live in the Czech Republic, and I was following with some interest where the cases. This is back in the early days when there were only a dozen cases in the country. And this is the thing, if there's a dozen confirmed cases in the country, for every confirmed case in the early points, there's probably 100 who aren't confirmed. So, you're looking at lots of cases by the time you got a few confirmed. Anyway, all the early confirmed cases, not all of them, 90-something% came from Italy. So I've got a strong suspicion that one of the biggest spreading vectors for this virus will turn out to be people taking skiing holidays in northern Italy. And from there, they go home all over Europe because the flights are cheap. They spread it all over Europe. And also, I've seen reports that this spread to America was also mostly came from Europe. And someone had a question, how is Canada doing versus America? And the answer is very comparably. First degree approximation, Canada's got about 1/10 of the population of the US. And where's Canada? Canada is here. It's got 1,000 to 1 in 25. So it's got about 4% death rate. US was about 4% also. So they're very comparable. And actually, looked at like that, America's got 25 times, sorry, America's got 10 times the population and 25 times as many cases. So America is doing significantly worse than Canada. Anyway, the thing that I see a lot of stuff that basically wants to put all of the blame on China here, which I think is super unhelpful. I mean, it's too easy to do. It's too easy to do, and if you do it, you don't learn the important lessons. And I know there'll be a load of people saying, what, you believe China? I don't have to, right? There's one fly in the ointment here that renders the whole bloody argument about whether China lied and that they're the cause of everything moot. And that's South Korea, right? South Korea where's South Korea? There they are. South Korea got their first case of the coronavirus on the 22nd of January. America got its first case of coronavirus on the 22nd of January, right? 22nd of January. And the thing is that South Korea took it seriously from the very start, and even though their early spread rate was as bad as many European countries, they got on top of it almost totally by the time there's been 10,000 cases in the entire country. The United States, in the meanwhile, they've not even began to have gotten on top of it by now. In fact, at the moment, the United States is getting about 30,000 confirmed cases per day, whereas South Korea only got 10,000 cases ever. And South Korea had, I mean, this is incredible. Actually, no, it's sensible. Okay, it's 2% is their death rate in South Korea, and it's at least double that in America. And for those who've been keeping track, there are now, for the people who were saying that China were fudging all of their data, not including all sorts of people in their numbers, I've seen numerous reports recently that the UK isn't including care homes in their fatality statistics, and if they did, they would increase by, 30% or something like that. And I've not been following the UK numbers in detail, but I do know that the sounds coming from the UK government is it's going to get a lot worse. And I also know it's pretty bad in France. So, but it is one of those things that I just sat and watched in utter disbelief was the Trump coronavirus briefing yesterday, where he was basically saying that America had taken every correct step all along the way and they'd done nothing wrong. The problem is, or that no one else could have seen it coming. And it's the complete argument killer for this is South Korea, where, this is basically what a competent response would look like. And basically you can't sit there and unless you've done better than South Korea, you can't sit there and say, we had a competent response to this. And the other things that was very disconcerting to hear was the president saying that he had absolute authority to reopen America whenever he wanted. Which, of course, raises the question, if he had absolute authority to open it, why didn't he use his absolute authority to actually close it when it would have actually made some difference, which would have been, damn. I mean, even when I was making my video, it was clear that this thing had legs, and that was early February, and Trump didn't take action for at least another 2 weeks, by which time there's 100 plus cases in America. So, yeah, he's claiming that he's absolute authority to open America, and you're absolutely insane if you think there is any scope for hope in... Right, the only scope for hope in these figures is the current expected death toll comes out at about 30 to 50,000, rather than the 1 to 200,000 that were forecast earlier. The reality is, though, that if you open the country when you're getting 20,000 new cases per day, you basically go you hit the exponent from there. This curve just goes absolutely ballistic, and within a month, this isn't like dots over America. It's a solid red sheep in the form of America. And so, yeah, Trump saying that he had the absolute authority to open America for business. Well, you can do it. It's just, yeah, you might as well have not closed America down in the first place. You could as well have just let the virus go through the country. You might as well have not declared this state of emergency. The outcome will basically be the same. And this is the one thing that gets me. I see it on so few news stories that it drives me crazy. This is what a 1% infection of America looks like. You can add 2 zeros to this for what a real infection would look like. And yeah, so the two most important things that people need to know when you're talking about reopening the country are, firstly, only 1% of the country has had this virus, which means that 99% are still susceptible to the virus. Number two, the virus is just as contagious as ever it was. There is essentially no diminished threat at the moment whatsoever. And yeah, so basically, before you even think about reopening the country, you need to be in the sort of China regime. Right? This really is the best you can hope for. Is you need to be in the China regime where you've had. I mean, even this is pointless, right? When you're getting 200 new cases per day, that's the equivalent of reopening the US about here on the beginning of March, right? So you're just 1 month away from this, basically. But not even that. It's about a month. 200 cases. No, that's the beginning of March. Yeah, it's about a month. It's about a month from going from this really optimistic case where you're in this sort of regime to going nuclear again. And Trump is talking about reopening the country when you're getting 20,000 new cases of the virus per day. It's just straight delusional. Anyway, I don't want to be too repetitive here, but yeah, so I hope you found that useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next time. So most of the day I spent, just so you know, making a piece of glassware for inspecting the thermal signature of liquid metals reacting with water. So maybe I'll put that video up tomorrow. Okay, ciao.